Thanks for joining us for the KOHO 101 Community Connection Podcast, a look at business in the greater Wenatchee area.
It's the KOHO Morning Show. Nice to have you with us, and nice to have the Chamber of Commerce back. Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce partnering with us for a multi-part series for our Community Connections podcast series, and we're compartmentalizing this into 4 different sections, and we're into the Legacy Business Series portion of those umbrellas, and that's the first portion. You've been hearing from some great local businesses, legacy businesses already throughout the course of this portion of the series with the Chamber, and we're going to hear from another one today. We've got Shiloh Burgess, Executive Director of the Chamber, with us today alongside Evy Gillin. Evy is the General Manager at the WRAC, the Wenatchee Racquet and Athletic Club. They have been there for, well, we'll kind of let Evy, give us the details as far as the number of years they've been around, but it's a lot, enough to be called a legacy here in the Valley, and we're anxious to find out more about them, where they've come from, where they're at, and where they're going in the future. And Shiloh, Evy, I appreciate the time so much. Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Shiloh, another great legacy business. There are so many of these around. I mean, you go to a lot of communities our size, and you might be lucky to find 1 or 2, perhaps. But here we've got scores of them, it seems like, and yet another one today in the RAC.
Well, I'd like to say we have scores of them because our community continues to support our local businesses and our local organizations. So a big thank you to all of the KOHO listeners, especially those that are members of the RAC. I'm super excited to be here with Evy today because she's also one of our 2021 Cornerstone Award winners for her work with the Washington Fitness Alliance during COVID. So it's an honor to be celebrating with the RAC. And yeah, Evy, how old are you? Well, not you personally, but how old?
How old?
Stop tape.
Yeah. I didn't think that was this kind of interview. So,
how old is the RAC this year?
Yeah, the RAC would be turning 60 years old in October of this year. It's hard to believe that many years have come and gone, but it has. It started as a community organization and continues as a community organization, member-owned, co-op. So it just survives because of the members and the people that are interested in what we do. So we thank the community.
One of the things that I love with what you just said is we thank the community because it really has been your members in a community that's helped the RAC get through 2020 so that we can see hopefully that 60th birthday here in October for 2021. But what's it look like coming out of COVID for you guys? How have you guys met the challenges and risen to the occasion?
A lot of evolution in this past year. I think our fitness directors told me the other day that we've moved the equipment 8 times. You just don't do that in normal business operation. So we have taken what we've got, used the facilities that we've got, and just kept changing with every guideline that came along and tried to do the best we could. And we've got the benefit of the membership this time of year is that we have a beautiful outdoor facility as well. And that's kind of what helped us get through last summer. We have a 5-acre facility with 9 courts and an outdoor pool, and that gave us a lot of activity last summer that other facilities that are all indoors didn't have the benefit of, which was to our advantage. We are anxious to see what's going to happen in the next couple of months. If it's based on any indication of what's happened this week as far as the number of calls and number of memberships and number of signups, it's going to be a good year.
Awesome.
So we are just thrilled with the amount of people coming in. It's just unbelievable.
I think it's really important, too, Evy, to underscore that you are a member-owned nonprofit. I imagine that surprises a lot of people. It's just so easy to look at a fitness center, a fitness club, a racket club, athletic club like yours and say, well, it's obviously privately owned. Perhaps it's even part of a franchise, and maybe it's under a different name. We have so many different conglomerates and different subsidiaries, and you really never know sort of who pulls the reins at the end of the day with so many of these businesses. But not only are you locally owned and operated, you're member-owned and operated as a nonprofit. That's really cool.
It's basically a big co-op. The reason that it's there is because people stepped forward and wanted a place to play tennis in 1961. They found this piece of land and developed a couple tennis courts, found that they really didn't have success selling family memberships without a pool. So in order to get the people that want to come out and play tennis, the way that they justified it was because they could bring their kids too, and the kids were in the pool. That's how it became Wenatchee Swim and Tennis Club when it started. And I can't tell you exactly what year we changed to Wenatchee Racquet and Athletic Club, but it was in the mid-90s, I believe. And it's evolved, from that day and time when we started with 5 acres and a couple outdoor courts and a swimming pool to we have 18 acres of land, which is a lot of room for expansion, which we're hoping to do at some point. And we now have an indoor facility that started in 1976 with the indoor tennis courts and a couple racquetball courts and a weight room about the size of this office, to what we have now, which is a 55,000 square foot facility, multi-purpose, multifaceted, and something for most everyone in the family. So when the parents come, we want the children to be there as well. It's been a little bit limiting this year because of the restrictions due to COVID, but we hope to get back in full gear with more children's programs. During the summer months, it's going to be full bore with all the pool programs, and camp is going full strong, and our junior tennis program goes year round. So we've got a lot of things going on.
I think just the statement that you made at the opening is one that sends out tendrils in the wild in my mind. People wanted a place to play tennis in 1961. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about, I'm not a tennis historian by any stretch, but we're talking Bobby Riggs and really
that era.
Yeah, that era, exactly. Arthur Ashe, etc. I mean, John McEnroe was 2 or something at the time.
Yeah.
So it just kind of underscores how long you've actually been there. And the crowds at the RAC, again, the folks that you are getting as your members that help to keep it going over the course of so many decades. They have changed a little bit, I imagine, what they've wanted over the course of time, or has it? I mean, the constant is obviously the court sports you have there, but how have things changed in the time that you've been there, Evy? Because you've been there for about half the lifespan of the RAC, actually.
I'm working on 38 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, I won't go back to your age question.
Yeah. We're dragging it out of her, folks.
It's been a long time. The benefit of being there a long time is I started in 1984. We had 2 indoor courts and 3 racquetball courts and a small office and small locker rooms. So I've been able to see the club through all these different points of evolution. We've done 5 or 6 remodels, expansions, which have all been fun to do. And every time you do an expansion with a facility like this, you're doing it because there's a dire need for it. We don't have somebody feeding capital into the business. It's because of banks and because of the support of the membership that we're able to make those steps. So everything happens a little bit slower. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes the trend has come and gone by the time we get there. But for the most part, we try to keep up with everything and change our facility so that it meets the needs of the members. The change in the membership has been that there's always been children involved. There's always been different parts of the family, but really trying to get something where everybody can go to the same place. And with the last expansion that we did 5 years ago, that helped us achieve that aspect of it. So that's really made a big difference.
And it's a beautiful facility. It's very clean. It's very bright. It's very welcoming. We had a ribbon cutting there not too long ago. It feels like during my tenure at the chamber, we got to come to the facility and check it out. And one of the things I love is the connection to the local schools. For years, you've had a partnership with our schools, and maybe you want to share a little bit about how that has been for the club and been for the community, because you're not only a practice facility, but you're a tournament facility.
Many years ago, the high school courts were condemned, and they have not been able to replace those. So before that time and since that time exclusively, the facilities have been used by the school district for the middle school program in the fall and the high school program in the spring. And that, in combination with the fact that many of the people that are very interested in tennis taking lessons and programs year-round, we've had a very successful high school program in the area for many years. We are, in fact, in the midst of negotiating our renewal of that agreement, and which I hope will be taken care of here soon, because we look for a long-term partnership. In order to maintain 9 outdoor courts, we need a partner on that. We have more of our members over the time that have gone to wanting to play indoor. So we need more indoor courts. So we have to kind of balance.
I think that's just, to me, part of the legacy, Chris, when I think about, the RAC and the community, is so much of what our community does is for our kids. right? We, start something because of our kids and our families, and then we turn it into something that's, providing jobs and buying stuff from vendors, and it just creates that economic development. But it's usually rooted in our quality of life, and I just really appreciate seeing that in a nonprofit, a legacy nonprofit like the RAC, because they have stepped up and they have helped and they have been innovative. You guys have done a really great job in responding to the needs of the member, but also saying, how can we help you, community? And then I love that we do have a great tennis program.
Yeah,
we've seen some
we do.
pretty incredible players come out of these ranks, and we're known for it. And so we even were able to host a college tournament, I think, at one point in time with the RAC through the chamber. We had sports tourism going on more and more, which was exciting.
Yeah,
So
hopefully they'll be back soon, but they couldn't do it, of course, this year.
we would love that. So tell me about the people of the RAC. It's not just you. You've got a lot of team out there. You've got board members. Like, what do you think's the common thread for these folks, or the things that you've just seen over the years? I love people, so there's got to be stories here somewhere, Evy.
I have been able to be there long enough to be able to see generations. I now have someone working for us this summer that is the grandson of someone that was one of the founding members of the club. And so they don't go away necessarily. If they do, they come back because it's part of their life and it's part of their home. One of the things that we heard quite often when people came back from the shutdown was how much they missed that connection. I mean, that was, the only time they went out for social stuff was to come to the club. And the smiles and the jubilation of getting back I thought it was great. So Betty Fager is the member that I'm referring to. And she passed away a couple of years, but Betty was one of the founding members. Her kids grew up with tennis. She was a high school coach at Eastmont. If you got near her, she was one of those that would twist your arm to get you out on the court. And now her great-grandson is on the staff. So
That's
it's
so
just,
wonderful.
Keeps going, which is fun. What is that common thread? I would just say that if you get involved with the RAC, there's usually someone that's going to be your friend. You're going to find someone that you connect to. You've got a common interest. You may just be a competitor on the court. That's a common interest. And there's something that brings those relationships higher on the priority list. You want to maintain them in life. And I think it's just one more way of people connecting in the community.
I love it. It reminds me, of Cheers in a different way, right?
Yeah.
When everybody needs a friend, and everybody can find a friend, and that's so true. We need places where we can plug in and find folks with common interests and common values. And I love that you said competition is one of those. You do need to find your great adversary that will make you better in the world. But it's healthy competition, and that's great for us to have that.
It's really serendipitous you'd bring up Betty Fager, because she just went through my mind right before you mentioned her name. She was my elementary school librarian, actually, and she also tried to teach my less than adroit sister tennis when she was in junior high school.
She tried to teach everybody that walked tennis. Yeah. She was quite an advocate for tennis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine played until she was absolutely not able to anymore.
She was in a year before she died, or during that last year, she would still come out to the club. Wow, she wasn't on the court very much, but she would come out.
Well, I'm sad to learn of her passing, but I know that she, it kept the spirit of the game, the sport, the activity. I'm not sure what you call it exactly, but tennis.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Okay, it depends on who you're talking to.
Depends on what point in the game it is.
Yeah, for sure. Evy, how many members are you strong right now? Well,
let's just say that we're down about 20%.
Down 20%?
Than where we were in 1990. Yeah. And, that was probably, we were at our high point before the shutdown. But we were at our low point during the shutdown where we were down 35%. So within the last couple of months, we're rapidly gaining our membership back. We have a lot of members that we continue to be on a hold status. So they can, when they're ready, they can come back. All those things that you had in mind for policies and procedures and rules went out the window in this last year. We have improvised and tried to work with people all the way along. And I think that hopefully that will be good for them and for the RAC in the long term, because we still have quite a few people that are still just on a hold. If they came back, we'd be back to where we are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm so happy that you mentioned the culture at the RAC, because I think that could easily score you some more members once they hear your words with us today, and then that resonates in the community and proliferates, because I think that's one of the things that keeps people away from gyms or other workout experiences, quite honestly. I mean, we think about, well, I go in and I'm all by myself. I don't get to know anybody. It's so rush. People are only interested in their own little world. And, I think a lot of people are like Shiloh. They do like people. They want connections with others, but they want to go to some place where they feel like that's encouraged, where that's actually a spirit that surrounds the organization. And it sounds like with the RAC, that's absolutely the case. So I would love the fact that you at least pointed that out for us today, so people can know that, because from the outside in, they might just think, well, it's just another way to work out, that I'll be in my own little space and everybody else will be better than me and look more fit and, be chiseled and all that. And that's those things that traditionally keep us away from being with each other, is that fear of not necessarily conforming, but not being as good as other people or not being worthy.
We hear all the time that I need to get in shape so I can go to the club. And I hope that during this past year, people have begun to realize that the connection, the staying fit and the staying active is the most important part of what we're trying to get across. It's not about the buff abs and it's just not. Priorities have changed, and we want the well-being of our membership and our community to be focused on fitness and being active, but that can be done in many different ways. And we realize that we have competition for all those different activities in our area right out our door. Our community is blessed with a lot of variety. So whatever brings you there, hopefully you'll find the experience to be welcoming and hopefully bring you back.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit counterintuitive, too, to say that I need to get in shape before I go to the RAC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you get in shape, for goodness sake. So and have fun doing it.
So if I want to learn more about you, where can I find you? I mean, where is the RAC located? And B, if I want to go super sleuth around a little bit, you've got to have a digital presence, I'm sure. So how can people get in touch?
Yeah. Well, we aren't on the main drag. We actually reside right at the base of Number 2 Canyon. But we have an outdoor and an indoor facility. The outdoor that I was talking about that we started with is on Number 2 Canyon Road, 1909. And right around the corner, back off the road at 1913 Skyline Drive is where the indoor facility is. So sleuth all you want.
No, she will. Shiloh's good with her sleuthing.
Map it, whatever gets you there, at www.wrac.org.
Sounds good. So Super Sleuth the RAC.
Super Sleuth us. Yeah, we've got lots of photos on there. You can get a feel of what we do just by taking a look at what the photos say. So,
outstanding.
And Evy's team usually is very kind, if they're available and everything works, to give a tour. If you want to check out the facility first and see what it's all about and meet the team there, they usually will bend over backwards to make that happen for you. Well, maybe not physically.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we might take that one back.
Not part of the routine normally, but
save that one when you're playing tennis. So.
Yeah. No, we are here to welcome you to the club.
Well, it's been outstanding to learn more about the RAC today, Evy, and to welcome you into our studios. So, again, thanks so much for the time. Anything that you think we missed or that we should say in closing here?
Stay tuned for the plans for the 60th anniversary celebration coming this fall.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, we'll look forward to that. So celebrating 60 years at the RAC. Evy Gillin, their general manager, with us today in studio, along with Shiloh Burgess from the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce, their executive director, talking to us about legacy businesses here during the first few episodes of our Community Connections podcast series with the Chamber. And we'll look forward to another one coming up next week. So, Evy, Shiloh, I appreciate the time very much today. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
This is the KOHO 101 Community Connection Podcast. Check back often for a continuing look at business in the greater Wenatchee area.